3 statistical secrets that you need to know heading into the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Welcome to the Pit Wall, your stop for fantasy Formula One content. You can like and subscribe for more content like this. I'm Jay Jack, and for the last time this season, let's go. First statistical secret is streaks. There are 2 drivers eligible for race streaks, Sainz and Norris. Sainz was looking pretty good in free practice session 1. He was 9th in time, and then in free practice session 2, he was also 9th. Then Norris, which is a little bit more tricky. During free practice session 1, he was 12th fastest, and in free practice session 2, he was 13th fastest. He actually looked pretty quick at the beginning of those sessions when he was banging out the softs, but then it seemed like he fell away as everyone got in their times. And so it's going to be really difficult to see the McLarens being competitive at this track when you compare them to the Ferraris and the Alpines. This is going to come down to, is there a crash or is there a mistake at the front? Otherwise, this track historically does not allow a lot of great passing opportunities. And so if Norris is outside the top 10 when he qualifies, he's probably going to be outside the top 10 when he finishes the race. This now brings us to the second statistical secret, the track. The redesigned Abu Dhabi Grand Prix has taken turns 5, 6, and 7 and smoothed it out into one turn 5. They took the old turns 12, 13, 14, 15, which was a lot of slow pace 90-degree corners, and is now turn 9, a huge banking fast corner. And then they took turns 17, 18, 19, 20. They widened them, made them a little faster because they chained together, and that's now turns 12, 13, 14, and 15. With this redesign, they have reset the track lap record. They are adding 3 laps to the race, and it's expected that the fastest lap times will be over 10 seconds faster than what they were last year. Looking at free practice session 1, where the drivers were trying to get used to this new track layout, a lot of lockups into turn 1. Cars were going either wide at turn 1 or in the last corner. And then the track limits is the white line all around the circuit. And so you want to make sure that the drivers seem to be comfortable pushing the car to its limit, but not over the white line, or a deleted lap time could be the difference between their qualifying positions. I noticed, like last week at Saudi Arabia, the Red Bull seems to be able to activate its tires quicker than the Mercedes. It was also interesting that Verstappen never seemed to lock up. I don't have any recollection of any video evidence that he had a lockup, whereas both Mercedes were locking up in various parts of the track. Now, they were going faster in free practice session 2, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when Verstappen's able to start pushing the limit, if he's also going to have similar lockups. And lastly, although the corners may be wider, it's going to put a lot of heat into the tires, especially turns 12, 13, 14, and 15. Because of those corners being a little bit wider, you want to hit the apex, but because of the negative camber of a lot of these corners, especially under the hotel, turns 12, 13, 14, 15, cars were not able to get the grip. The rear was turning out a little bit, and we saw Bottas brush the wall. We saw Raikkonen crash at the exit of turn 14. We saw Latifi crash into turn 13. And so you have to be careful that while they may not have a lot of wheel-to-wheel banging in that corner, if 2 cars are next to each other and someone gets a little slippage, you could have some carnage, or you could have someone ruin their quali session because they're on the limit and they get slipped out during that sequence of corners. And because of the new redesign, this now brings us to our third statistical secret, the pace. Karun Shandok and other people who were responsible for the redesign of the track had a simulation in which quali times would be in the high 1-minute 22s. Here's the pace of those during free practice session 2. And why this is important is because free practice session 1 and 3 are during the day. Free practice session 2 and qualifying are going to be the most similar time. It's similar to these other night races in the Middle East. Free practice session 2 is going to give us the best opportunities. That actually caught me off guard last race. Perez's problems were because of a crash during the race, but he did seem to improve during free practice session 3, but ultimately it was the performance of free practice session 2 with Bottas that showed the pace of the Mercedes. Back to the pace during free practice session 2, with the estimated quali lap being in the high 1-minute 22s, Hamilton was able to set a 1-minute 23.691. So that means that there is about a second that could be still found around this track, and this is why commentators were thinking that maybe the Mercedes and the Red Red Bull were turning down their power during free practice session 1 and 2 to be able to push it later and then activate it when they're ready for the end of free practice session 3 or qualifying. Ocon 3/10 off of Hamilton, same with Bottas. Verstappen 6/10 off Hamilton, Perez 7/10 off, and then Alonso 8/10. Interesting that your top 6 are the Mercedes, the Red Bull, and the Alpine. Now the Alpine last race was eligible for a power streak, but because of some contact, the weirdness of the race, they weren't able to get full advantage of that. And so if you're thinking about having Alpine as your constructor in order to have more heavy hitter drivers, you want to be aware that you're going to have even less points potential of this race, even though they look like they're doing good. Now, on the flip side, if Alpine is able to get on the podium and then you have the title contenders crash out, that could be something to consideration. But it seems like all points are pointing towards the Red Bull and the Mercedes still being the constructors of choice. It's also funny because AWS did not have a quality projection graphic at the end of free practice session 2. It's almost like they're trying to hide information to make it as interesting as possible. This now brings us from quality pace to race pace. Commentators estimated that the optimal race pace would be a 1 minute, 28 seconds, 0.4. Verstappen, his average time on the mediums was a 1 minute, 28.1. Perez was a 1 minute, 28.3. Hamilton was a 1 minute, 28.6. And Bottas was a 1 minute, 28.8. So if the optimal target time is a 0.4, then both Red Bulls were below that target and both Mercedes were above that target. So that's going to be interesting. If the Mercedes is able to out-qualify Red Bull, then that means they're going to set the pace. And even if the Red Bulls have more pace over a lap, it's going to be hard for them to pass the Mercedes. Last race, similar thing happened. Red Bull knew that they had better one lap pace over Mercedes. And so then what Mercedes did was they pressured Verstappen the entire race. And eventually they were able to overtake him on pace. And so Red Bull could try to do a similar thing, but it's looking like they're leaning towards a two-stop strategy so that they're able to pit, get fresh air, make up the time, and then when it's time to pass the Mercedes, they're going to be on either fresher or softer tires that give them the extra grip that they need, because normally Red Bull cannot pass a Mercedes on the straight unless they have that tire difference, kind of like France, where both Perez and Verstappen were able to pass Hamilton and Bottas, but they had to have that two-stop strategy with different tires to make that comeback. It's now time for my picks. Team on the left is my study team, in which I tried to do minimal day trading, value of 107.2. The team on the right was my day trading team, has roughly 2.5 million more. I haven't been day trading over the last 3 races just because I didn't feel like I could gain enough in order to make a big difference. But if you see here, team 1 already has signs. I'm going to be able to take advantage of his race streak. Don't see Gasly and Tsunoda looking as powerful as they could be, so then I could have Ocon. And then if I wanted to keep Gasly, I can't. The other option would be Raikkonen. Now Raikkonen, he had that crash at the end of free practice session 2, but looking at his pace, he was the 5th fastest behind Verstappen, Perez, Hamilton, and Bottas. So Raikkonen could be an option. Team 2, because I had Leclerc, I'm still stuck in this because I have to switch over the signs, which is going to tie my hands. If I go Tsunoda and then I go Ocon, I can't really do anything else. I'm stuck with Gasly, unless I want to go downgrade from Gasly. But Gasly doesn't look like he has the pace like you would think. So hopefully he's able to recoup that, or then I might have to duplicate my strategy because I can't pick up Norris with his race streak. So then I would either have to have like a Stroll, which wasn't looking hot, or Raikkonen, hoping that he's able to make up positions throughout the race. I'd like to promo to you now our one race challenge, the last one race challenge for the entire season. One submission, one opportunity to compare yourself with others. The link and the code will be in the description below. We already have 18 teams. Once I get 10, I'm able to make custom graphics. I really like making the graphics and appreciate all of you who join. If you are able to get on the top 3 positions at the end of the race, you are eligible for a special podium ceremony at the end of our next reaction podcast. And so I look forward to seeing all of you who are able to participate. And this now comes the elephant in the room. Do you go with Verstappen or do you go with Hamilton? Hamilton seems to be the better form over the last 3 races. You're able to have him in your budget. He seems like the guy to have. The problem is, because of the cost difference between Verstappen and Hamilton, Verstappen is usually better when you're able to get supporting cast. there are some of you. You can put the comments below. What is your lineup in the case that you think that our title contenders might crash? Because why have Verstappen or Hamilton, or some people are able to put both on their team, but why have them on your team if you think that they might end up in a crash? I put a poll on Twitter and you guys said 50% chance that they're going to have a race-ending crash. And so now you have to play the odds. Do you think that it's going to be like Saudi Arabia, where it's like a crash and someone gets a penalty, but they still finish 1-2? No problem. You have them on your team. If you think it's going to be more like Monza or Silverstone, where one of them is going to get taken out, then your whole season could be thrown up in flames because you had a driver who DNF'd. And so this is where you have to make that decision. Watch FP3, watch the pace, put in the comments below. This is the community, the brainstorming for the last race, the last opportunity to see how you can perform in your league. And so it has been a pleasure being along for the ride. It's crazy that this is my last 3 statistical secrets to have done one for every one of these races. 22 videos, 22 races, and here we are at the very end. So it has been a pleasure being alongside you in your decision making, and I wish you the best. And until next time, I'll see you on the pit wall.